Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. So today in this video, I figured I could review my thoughts and opinions on Ninja Gaiden 4. I am a huge fan of the Ninja Gaiden games. I literally grew up on these games, so I will admit I'm a little bit biased when it comes to these games. Hell, even Ninja Gaiden 3 I liked. I mean, obviously I prefer 1 and 2 a lot more than 3, but I didn't completely hate 3. I have fun playing through it every now and again, like I do 1 and 2. Loved 1 and 2 though. Those are definitely the best. Good story before we get into the review. 4. My biggest memory of Ninja Gaiden 2 was when we had it on the PlayStation and we also had it on the Xbox 360. And I remember my mom playing through on one and I was playing through on the other. And I remember being stuck on the final boss, the fiend that climbs up. I don't remember his name, to be honest. I just listened to like a bunch of Ninja Gaiden lore videos and stuff, and I still forgot his name. But I think he is mentioned in this game, if I remember correctly. Anyways, regardless, this isn't a review on those games. They're amazing. This is a review on Ninja Gaiden 4. Now, when I was writing this out, it was like a blatant review, but it kind of more so turned into like some things I did not like, more so and things that I did like, because overall, I liked the game. Alright, I loved it. I thought it was really fun. It felt like a Ninja Gaiden game. A lot of people saying it feels like a Platinum Games game, which I never really played those games before, but I don't know. I thought it felt really good as like a Ninja Gaiden game. The action was great. But yeah, there's a lot of things that I did not like about it too. So let's just get into it. First thing I want to talk about is the main character. Now, my first idea when I seen like the trailers for it and stuff, I seen that obviously Ryu was kind of in the background and Yakumo, who's the main character, was only getting shown off. Now there was like footage of Ryu being played, but you just mainly see Yakumo. And when I seen that, I was like, ooh, this is going to be like a game just focused on him, and I don't know if I'm going to like it because Ninja Gaiden Yaba, or Z, I think, basically did that, and you fight Ryu in that game, but that overall was just a terrible fucking game. Nobody recognizes that game as a Ninja Gaiden game, alright? So, I thought it was going to be like that. However, I can say that as playing as Yakumo, it was really fun. You still feel just as badass as Ryu does, and his combat playstyle is like really fun. In like the trailers, he was doing like the Blood Raven forms, and at first I was like a little put off about it. I don't know. I feel like it's too much. Like in the original games, you just have like your main weapons, your Nimpo, and like that's that. But like, you have like your weapon turning into a fucking drill or a hammer or a long ass sword, and like it just feels like weird to me. I don't know what words I could say to like put it. Like I don't know how I could describe it, but it just felt like fantasy like, where like you're transforming your weapons or whatever. Not like Ninja Gaiden doesn't already have like some fantasy to it, like with the Nimpos, but it just felt a bit more extreme. Overall, it was really fun because you can use the abilities. It's not like its own weapon, it's like a form. So you can do your normal combos with your normal weapon and then convert it into your Blood Raven form and just like create this like really fucking nice combo. And if you want my video that I have of Ninja Gaiden 4, you can see that I use the forms a lot because they're like really needed. But yeah, that's how I feel about like the main character. At first, I did not know if I would like him, but overall, I really liked him. But now if we like transition into the story, there's a lot more gripes that I have with the game. I do have to get into spoiler territory, so if you don't want anything spoiled, just click off the video. First things first, I really like the story. I'll go into more depth of it later. The first thing I want to address is I wish we got to learn more about the Raven clan, because after all, they are descendants of the Dark Dragon. But I feel like that's all we learn about them is you have Yakumo, who's a descendant of the Dark Dragon, and his trainer and like a couple of his friends, and then you just know that the fact that they're stuck in the shadows. So that's like all we know of them. And obviously this clan was never mentioned in the other games because it's like a newly created clan to add plot to this game. So I just kind of wish this game would have had like went a little bit more in depth into it, because like in the other Ninja Gaiden games, the first game we're in the Hayabusa village. The second game, we go to the Hayabusa village. Hell, the third game, we also go to the Hayabusa village. So it would have been cool if maybe we got like a little backstory video on like why Yakumo's in this position where he wants to go slay the Dark Dragon to give his clan that honor, you know, slaying his forefather to show that they're not like him, you know, right the wrong or whatever. But they never show that. So hopefully, if they do more games with him, they'll flesh out his story. But overall, that's all we really got. But you know what? It's alright. You know, I'm just happy we got another Ninja Gaiden game. Now, if we go more specifically into the story missions, a complaint I have, the only one that I can really think of, is literally the first two missions. Now, this may be nitpicky, but I noticed it when I first played the game, and I kind of thought about it when I'm starting to like replay it again, is the first two missions kind of drag. So, if you don't know how like the mission orders go, you basically start the game and like your tutorial where you like learn your moves on how to fight, whatever. Then you go to mission 0, which you don't have like no health, no nothing, so you just go through, meet Siori, and then you finally get into mission 1, which is like basically you're just like in the main mission at that point. Like you're starting the game fresh. You got through all your tutorial bits. Because that's what the main tutorial and the mission 0 is. It's just like tutorial, right? But I feel like mission 1 and 2 were like dragging. So basically, the plot of mission 1 and 2 is that you have to destroy these beacons, these like power beacons, to get through the DDO's defense network. And in mission 1, you literally destroy 2 of them, and then you fight a boss before you destroy the second one. And then in the second mission, you destroy just one, and then you fight a boss before that one too. And it's just like the fact that that takes up 2 missions to do just feels like it's a little bit of a drag. Like if they had you do the first 2 beacons in mission 1 and then you did like the third beacon straight away in mission 2 and then made your way to the demon, which is like the main boss in mission 3 that's guarding the dark dragon seal, then I feel like it would have been fine. But the fact that those first 2 missions are taken up just for that plot kind of sucks a little bit in my opinion. Especially when you like are thinking like, okay, you know, the Ninja Gaiden games, they go by chapters, and if there's only like 15 chapters, why are the first 2 chapters being taken up by like this boring subplot, you know? Maybe it's a little too nitpicky, but I thought about it when I first played, and now that I'm actually like deciding to write about it and do a video, I felt like I had to say it. Alright, so now this one's more overall of the story. I saw a Steam review when I first got through like the first half of the game, and I was like, oh, let me see what the reception on this game is looking like. And overall, it was mostly positive, but I did see a negative review. And in that negative review, they mentioned that it's just like DMC4 or Devil May Cry 4. And at first I was like, yeah, I kind of get that. You know, I hadn't gotten to the Ryu part. I like just started the Ryu part. So I couldn't give like my full review, like my full thoughts on it then. But after like playing a bit more of the Ryu part and like taking a step back and looking at the game overall, this game feels almost exactly like how Devil May Cry 4 felt when like you first play it and see it. Cause like hell, it's even the 4th game in the series, you know? Just like Ninja Gaiden 4. If you don't know, I'll basically just summarize it a little bit. In Devil May Cry 4, you play as this new character, Nero, instead of the usual Dante, just like Ryu. And in that game, you two fight. And if I remember correctly, you fight Dante twice as Nero, just like in Ninja Gaiden 4. And after that second fight, you transition over into Dante and you get to replay as Dante, which is really fun. However, Dante's story, his like playthrough, is just reused level designs that you originally did as Nero. But instead of like moving forward, you're like moving backwards through the levels. And that's really boring and kind of sucks. But then like after you get through Dante's part, you transition to Nero, and then you finish the game as Nero, which is pretty much how like Ninja Gaiden 4 feels. Except I feel like Ninja Gaiden 4 is not as bad, because his levels aren't really like you're playing through the level. You're playing like through remix levels. So it takes like the first part of a mission, and then like you jump through a portal that takes you to like a later point, and then you go through a portal again, and it's just like you kind of like bounce back and forth. And like in the original story, it's like demon portals that you're going through. And then the bosses, there's like 3 bosses that are just like reused bosses, but I don't really have an issue with that because it makes sense to the story. I'll just spoil the story a bit since I'm already spoiling more stuff. Basically, there's a fiend in Siori, the shrine priestess for the Dark Dragon. They're going to resurrect the Dark Dragon. Ryu puts a stop to it. They need to seal the Dark Dragon, and they use 3 demons to seal the Dark Dragon. So there's 3 seals. Technically, there's 4 seals, but there's like a side point that they never go into, like that 4th demon. Basically, Kagachi is like a side character who basically put the demon in himself, but they never go through that. They never literally talk about that at all, which sucks. You literally have to read his thing on him, his database or whatever on him, to learn that, because they never explain it otherwise. That's a little side tangent that I didn't even write about. But yeah, basically they use those 3 demons, and Ryu basically kills the 3 demons for her to basically make the seal. But those are already demons that you fought to destroy the seal, but you know, at least it makes sense, right? You needed to defeat the demon in order to use it for the seal. So at least it makes sense. Then there's like a 4th boss that you fight as Ryu that's unique to him. Nothing too special about that boss, in my opinion. It's just like a filler boss. But after you get through, actually, before we get into that, I need to like go over Ryu as a whole. So yeah, like Ryu's playthrough I felt like was not as bad as like Dante's in Devil May Cry 4. But let's just get into Ryu as a whole, because I feel like Ryu was half-baked or raw at all. So basically, let me just explain how Yakumo works. He has 4 weapons that he gets to use. Technically 5, but I'll get into that later. So he can switch between those 4 weapons, and then he has his Blood Raven Orm, which basically like converts those weapons into like a different version. So like for instance, there's a staff that you convert it into like a drill basically. No, the staff turns into the hammer. There's a rapier, which turns into a drill, which hopefully I said that right. Your main swords turn into like this giant sword, and then the 4th one is just like a ninja toolbox. To be honest, I never really used that. I felt like, in my opinion, that was the lamest weapon, and I feel like they gave that to you way late, because there's flying enemies that it would have been really good for earlier in the game, but they don't give you till like literally the last game. Again, side tangent. Basically, you have those 4 weapons, and when you convert to Ryu, those 4 slots are just Ninpo. It's literally just like your 4 Ninpo. So your only weapon is the Dragon Blade, and then you have those 4 Ninpo slots. And instead of having like the Blood Raven, you just have like True Obliteration Technique, I think. And I'll be honest, I did not know you could even use your Ninpo as Ryu until I got to the end of the game, because I had turned the tutorials off, because I turned the wrong one off, because there's like 2 tutorial things that were on, and I got really bugged. I was like halfway through the story, and on the left side of the screen it was still telling me what my attack buttons were and my block buttons were, because I was like, bro, I'm already halfway through the game, why am I still seeing this? So I turned them off, but I turned the main tutorial one off, which I should have left on, because I'm sure it would have told me. So that one's on me. In my defense, when I was looking through your moves list, your skills list, like everywhere where you can see your skills and different moves and stuff, not once did it mention, hey, in order to use your Ninpo, you have to hold the button that you would normally do your Blood Raven techniques, and then press circle or B, and then boom, you can use like your Ninpo. Because what I noticed was your little bar, your Blood Raven bar that you have, even though it's filled to where you can use it to do the True Obliteration technique as Ryu, it'll still like show like the different techniques grayed out, or the different like Ninpos grayed out, because obviously you don't have enough charge to use them. So I was like, hey, it almost seems like you can use them. I had the thing off, so that one's kind of on me. And then instead of having your Berserker state as Yakumo, you get the I think it's called the true obliteration technique. I don't know what it's called exactly, but you get to use the Eye of the Dragon. And another little nitpicky thing, you have it on your sword the entire time, and it doesn't make your sword go. Like, come on, man. First and second game, maybe even the third game, I don't remember, to be honest. Where's my sword glow, bro? Come on. The fact that you have no other weapon than your dragon sword, which even I have an issue with that I'll go on to later on too. I feel like instead of the 4 Nimpos, the weapon slots could have been 4 different weapons from the other games. Like, they literally could have repurposed some of the other weapons that Yakumo uses for Ryu. Like, for instance, Yakumo uses like these dual katanas that I feel like Ryu could have used. They like could have repurposed the moves and stuff for Ryu. Yakumo also uses a lunar staff. Ryu has been seen using a lunar staff that they literally could have just reused like moves and stuff. And then the 2 other weapons, they would obviously have to, make new moves for. But I feel like that shouldn't really be an issue, because you have your Vigorian flails or your Eclipse Scythe, like any other of those weapons, Hell, like the 4th weapon box literally has like the Tonfa, it has the Tonfa in the Falcon Claws in like its different moves and stuff, and it also has like a flail, I think. But yeah, that they don't really work standalone-ish because like overall, it's like different types of weapons. I don't know. That one just overall just kind of sucks in my opinion. I feel like fucking Tenten from Naruto just throwing a bunch of shurikens and stuff. But I mean, I feel like it was like a solid ranged weapon, but that's all I used it for. But alright, that little side tangent aside, let's get into another one. After we finish Ryu's mission, we get to play as Yakumo again, which mind you, we just run through Ryu's last mission as Yakumo, but where that mission ended, we fight Ryu basically, and the fight is really fun. It's challenging, and at the end when they show the cutscene, it's not like Yakumo destroys Ryu and like, hey, I'm better than you or whatever. It more so feels like a tie or Yakumo slightly had an edge on him, because it was just like Ryu showing that it was like him testing Yakumo to see if he was worthy or not. Earlier in the game, we fight against Ryu too, which I got destroyed against, by the way. I did not last like 5 seconds in the ring, which feels good because any game or show where they nerf the previous main character to make the new character shine or look really good, it just sucks. Like how I've been pulling from the Naruto bag, why not pull another one? When Naruto transitioned from Naruto to Boruto, they really nerfed the old main characters to make the newer characters shine, and that sucks. Which, luckily, they didn't really do it. Hell, even through, like, the main story, you're like, oh, Ryu's defeated the Dark Dragon like 3 times. Why would Yakumo need to be the one to do it? Like, I feel like they did a good story thing. Like, they gave a good reason as to why Yakumo needed to be the one to defeat the Dark Dragon as opposed to like Ryu, which I'll get onto later on. By later on, I mean in like 5 minutes. But there's some stuff I gotta talk about. Actually, you know what? We're just literally gonna talk about it here in like 2 minutes, more like 2 seconds. All right. So once we beat Ryu, we get the Eye of the Dark Dragon, and then Sayori gave us this little trinket thing at the beginning of the game, which turns out to be a shard of the Dark Dragon Blade. You had to read the info thing on the Dark Dragon Blade to figure that out. But anyways, yeah, once we put those 2 pieces together, we basically get a reformed version of the Dark Dragon Blade, which, it felt good to see again. And like, I feel like it made a lot of sense as to why we are seeing it again. Because what I was just talking about story-wise as to why Ryu, why it fits the story well, that Yakumo is the one who needed to defeat the Dark Dragon and not Ryu, is because in order to purify the Dark Dragon, you need a descendant of the Dark Dragon with the Dark Dragon Blade to do it. But I do have an issue with the blade, and my biggest issue with the blade is that it is literally the Dragon Sword's moves that Ryu uses. And I'm talking the same upgrades, same obliterations, the same Blood Raven form, which just goes to show that they either made the moves first for the Dark Dragon Blade and reused all the moves for Ryu, or it was all Ryu's moves and then they lazily reused it for the Dark Dragon Blade. I think it's the latter because these are some moves that we've seen from Ryu in the previous games, and it's just lame that they did that, and like super lazy. They could have literally made it like how the first game used it I think I looked up videos on using it. I remember it being like a slow weapon, but I never personally got it myself, and I don't remember. But if I remember correctly, it worked kind of like how the Enma's Fang worked in Ninja Gaiden 2, where it was just like a really heavy weapon that was slow. They could have made it like that, but overall, whatever they did with it would have been better if they didn't just use the same moveset and upgrades as they did with the Dragon Blade. The least they could have done was change some stuff up a bit. But hey, at least in Ninja Gaiden 4, once you get through the main story, you can use the blade again. In Ninja Gaiden 1, you can get it if you collect 50 scarabs, but you only get it for, like, I think the tag missions or whatever, the missions that they have, like the challenge missions. I think you can only use it there. And before like mission 19 or 15 or whatever the mission was that, it was seen in the game. I don't know. I looked it up recently because I was like, hey, can you even get the Dark Dragon Blade in the first game? I remember thinking, oh, if I defeated Doku at the very beginning, boom, you get the Dark Dragon Blade. But I don't think that was ever true. But however, once you do beat the final boss, it vanishes, but you can still unlock it. Once you beat the game, you unlock these trials, which is basically like the tag missions. And if you beat all the boss trials, you refine the Dark Dragon Blade and you can use it through, your chapter challenges, your trials. And what I really like about this game as opposed to the other games, specifically 1 and 2, I don't remember for 3, they have like a legitimate new game plus where when you hit new game, it'll ask if you want to override or use an existing file, and you'll get all of your weapons, skills, monies, abilities, and you'll basically like take on a form similar to Yakumo at the end of the game. But yeah, so it feels really good being able to like use those weapons and stuff at the very start of the game while still playing through for the story and not doing the chapter challenges, which they also have returning once you beat the game. And with that, you can play through the very beginning as Ryu Hayabusa 2 if you haven't had that itch scratched yet. And for one final complaint that I do have, I have a complaint that there is no skin for beating the game. Now, I don't know if you get a reward for beating it on hard or even Master Ninja difficulty, because I looked it up, and since this game is still early, there's no like official news article or anything stating that. So I don't know for sure, but at least for normal mode, I just unlocked the basics: chapter challenges, trials, and purgatory challenges and New Game Plus. And that was it pretty much. There was no skins for Yakumo, no skins for Ryu. And hell, I was even thinking at the end of the game, the Dark Dragon takes on a form that is similar to Yakumo, that I was thinking, hey, they could really repurpose that into a skin. It's almost like the Fiend form of Ryu in Ninja Gaiden 1 and 2 and 3. But no, it's not. You don't get that. But no, it's not the case. You don't get the skin. At least for normal. Like I said, I could be wrong, but I'm not sure if you get it on hard or Master Ninja difficulty either. I am playing through Master Ninja difficulty, so if I know, if I end up beating it and find out that way, then I'll let you know. But yeah, I'm a little disappointed that the only skins that you have for the game are from pre-ordering it and digital deluxe editions. But I think that's going to conclude my little rant slash tirade. It was originally supposed to be like my overall opinion on the game. Because I mean, I really enjoy the game. I love it. I still think it's fun and satisfying to play through. I'm even going through on Master Ninja difficulty to try and beat it, which is the footage that you've been seeing playing in the background. But, as biased as I am, I can admit that, there are a lot of faults to the game. But, as a true fan, I still love it. It's somewhat of Ryu's story continued in the form of Yakumo, and it's more of the Ninja Gaiden universe that I'm happy to see explored. And it's not like Ninja Gaiden Z, whatever the hell it was called, I already forgot. Fuck that game. Anyways, peace.